Good morning.
Good morning.
It's Thursday.
It is Thursday. I can't remember. Did we decide Thursday was one of the easier days or one of the worst days?
I don't. What are days?
What are days?
It is Thursday, right?
It is Thursday.
Okay. We're in front of
Yeah.
a green screen today because I have a bunch of stuff set up for filming a sketch later.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of in the way because we have limited room. So
Yeah.
we are sitting in front of a green screen. Check it out.
Looks kind of nice though.
Can I?
What are you doing?
If I do this, will it switch?
What are you doing?
Look at this. Whoa,
Oh my gosh.
We're in a spaceship.
Half my face is gone. Why is half? Oh, is that because the green shining
It's
on
not
it?
a great green screen effect.
I'm in a bad mood because I woke up thinking that like The Handmaid's Tale is just like not that far from something that might happen in our society.
It's always just a random thing. It's never even anything that like makes sense or that you
I have
need
so
to be
many-
mad at.
I have so-
You just wake up and your brain just spins the friggin' lottery wheel, and then whatever comes up, it's like, yep, that, I'm mad at that right now, as if it's happening right now.
I'm gonna call the police. That's my go-to threat, and I've never once done it. That's not true. I have called the police once. It was on my cat.
What?
It's a story for later.
I think it's a story for now.
No, I've explained too many stories today.
Have you?
Yes. Another day I will talk about how I called the police on my cat. Every time I went on a date, like one of the first things I would mention on the date is how much I hate Batman. Because like you just go through all the date questions. One of them's like, do you have a favorite superhero? Yeah, it was. It quickly eliminated multiple people. I'd be like, I need to tell you right now on this date, I don't like Batman. And there were two reactions. One of them was like, oh, that's fine. And the other one was like, what? Why? And we usually didn't go out on a second date. The Hulk is so attractive, and I need somebody. Like I've talked to other people about this, and I can't figure out like where it comes from.
This is such a weird conversation.
It doesn't make any sense because I don't even understand it. Because like he is definitely a giant hulking green monster, but like why am I so into it? Like what's going on?
I don't have an answer for you.
Is it because it's Mark Ruffalo? Because that's.
I mean, yeah, probably.
But he's better than Mark Ruffalo. Like Mark Ruffalo is great, but then like Mark Ruffalo as Hulk is best. And it just like it must hit the same Mr. Tumnus thing.
It's probably that thing where it's like because he's like relatable, nice, like emotional, supportive scientist man, but also he can turn
like
into a hulking green monster and fight off literally anyone if they come at you. So he's like he's literally the whole package.
That's what it is. Yes. And what's best about it is you can't blame him for like toxic masculinity or anything. He literally turns into a monster. So it's like he's just a cuddle fest of a person who's incredibly smart and kind and sensitive. Then he turns into a giant green monster who will murder all of your enemies, and then you don't even have to be mad at him because he's not a bad guy. He's not even the same guy. So he
does actually
he's
literally
just a girl's dream.
He hits those weird like unrealistic fantasy points of any real life person.
He does.
Because people make this argument about actual people, and it's like, no, they're just a violent, angry sociopath.
Right.
You're just making excuses for them.
Right, and that's not cute. It's not cute when they consciously kill people.
Right.
But when you turn into like a literal hulking
when they accidentally
monster.
kill people, it's adorable.
Well, I mean, like he's not in control, so it's like cute,
Right.
you know. Anyway, that's all. I think most girls want a guy who would like murder all their enemies, but not the guy who would murder all their enemies, right? Like it's like you know, like stand up for your wife and stuff, but not like things that put you in prison.
Half good, half bad, half boy.
Yes,
that's what
half
you need.
good, half bad, half boy. Those are the best ones. I had a crush on a 30-year-old who had a crush on me back, so blame him. And his name was Tyler, and Tyler smoked cigarettes like how you eat Skittles. He just constantly was smoking cigarettes.
Hot.
That's Tyler. I don't have anything else to say about him. He was kind of like short and fat. I smoked cigarettes.
Okay.
And I was super into him.
Yeah. Who wouldn't be?
Yeah, absolute winner. Anyway, when we did hang out, I went to his place. It was in his mom's house. He lived in her garage, and his setup was a bed with a curtain around it and a large TV where he exclusively played Diablo 3. Anyway, that's not the point. Anyway, we were in the break room. I had broken it off with him. Things were weird. My ex came in, who also worked there. That's right. My ex worked there in the warehouse. He came in. They got into a fight. Tyler flipped the whole freaking, like, break room table with all the food and stuff on it. I was just sitting there like... Yeah.
How is your life every TV show?
I don't know, because I don't ever feel like I did anything. I didn't do exciting things. I just sort of ended up in them.
Yeah. No, you're a poorly written protagonist, but you were still in the show.
Wait, rude. Maybe that's why I like Twilight. She just sort of fell into... Bella was just like this boring person who just sort of like fell into drama. The Inferno says, it's too damn early for racial politics. You think that he would understand it? Like, I literally lifted my head up from sleeping. I was asleep on the desk. And I woke up, and within 5 minutes we were having a conversation. Me though. The reason that people aren't vegan is because meat tastes good. There are other things that you can... No.
Yeah.
No.
What?
No.
No to me agreeing with your point?
Oh, wait. What are you agreeing to?
You said the reason people aren't vegan is because meat tastes good. I said yeah, and you said no, and I got extremely confused.
I might have said my point right. AI says, remember that time Pepsi was the 6th largest military in the world? Oh, yeah!
Yes, I love that fact. Pepsi bought...
What are we going to do with that?
Whose Navy? It wasn't military, it was Navy, I think.
That's right.
They specifically purchased the Navy of a country for some reason. I don't remember why.
Boo to the country that sold Pepsi their Navy. Boo to you.
And yet they're still second place to Coke. They had their chance and they blew it.
Pepsi blows. Pepsi is trash on every level. Everything about Pepsi is disappointing.
The Hovering Cat says, Bat Bomb was the plan they were going to use before the atom bomb. Basically, it was a capsule full of bats rigged with fire bombs that could find shelter in attics of buildings. That's some Combine crap right there. That's like that is dropping genetically modified organisms into the population to just kill people whenever they wander close. That's like Half-Life bullcrap.
I love the creativity, but I hate.
I love that somebody was like, guys, like, hear me out. Bats everywhere. They'll blow up.
I was literally just thinking about, like, we could do a whole sketch series
of just these ideas being pitched.
On the meetings. Of the one guy who's like, bat bombs, and then 7 other adults, or however many had to be there, are like, yes,
and he
bat
says,
bombs, yeah.
Before the atom bomb. So this guy pitched this whole thing, and then somebody else was like,
nuke him.
How about instead, just real big boom, big explosion. Have one out back, I can show you. Better than bats.
One time while waiting for the train for university, there was some police looking with dogs for dealers and weed in the train stations, and there stood this man near me that asked, "Do you want some leaves?" with a weird accent, and I asked what? He repeated, "Leaves for fun." So I said no. Then he wished me a good day and went to say hi to the cops.
By any chance did this man have a fake beard on?
Leaves. From Christ, or Kreist. So my mom is in this organization called SWY, Ship for World Youth, where they organize get-togethers for people from all around the world each year. When I was younger, they were going to Dubai, and she brought me. This sounds awesome. And she brought me when I was around 8 at the time, and my sister, who was maybe 10, with her. During this trip, a group of SWYers were for some reason meeting up with the crown prince of the country on a broadcast shown to the entire country, and my sister got hyped because she had this ideal picture of a prince being handsome and riding on a white horse like a fairy tale prince. However, when we met him, my sister started crying because he was not what she had expected. He was, in her words, ugly, old, and disgusting. The crown prince saw her crying and thought it was because she was so moved because of meeting him, so he greeted her, and there's proof of this really happening. She once again repeated herself with, "He's ugly, old, and disgusting." Luckily for us, we are from Sweden, so she said it in this Swedish and no one really understood. But if the Swedes were watching the broadcast, they must have laughed their asses off.
That's amazing.
Bro. Someone needs to contain your sister.
I think that one wins.
But the sister's the weird interaction. Could you imagine meeting someone and being
That's
like, "You're
true.
old, disgusting, and ugly," and you're just like, "Wow, thanks, kid. What's happening?"
Autumn64 said Kyle looks like a less damp Michael Cera.
You do look much drier. This is an important distinction, I think.
There was one day, I don't know, you and me were like hanging out with Ian and Rachel and Aaron or something, is what I remember. We were at their house. I got a phone call from Reed, because Reed was just excited, and he was like, I'm not going to give away too many details here, but...
This is what Reed said?
Reed basically called and was like, hey, so I just need to tell somebody this who will care. This guy I've been working with at my job for 2 years, who he's mentioned before.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned in the somebody else in the room like called him Watterson by his last name or something, and so Reed out loud was like, "Oh, like a Bill Watterson," not thinking anybody would actually get that.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "What do you mean, yeah?" He's like, "Yeah, that's my brother." And he was like, "No, it's not. What are you talking about?" Turns out he actually was. Reed had been working with him for 2 years.
Had been working with Bill?
With his brother.
Okay.
This guy who's I'm not gonna give any names, locations, job titles, anything like that, just because again, all of it they're all very private, so I'm not gonna give away any information. But yeah, Reed had been working with his brother for 2 years without realizing it, and that was just crazy. It was just kind of this little thing we just kind of like shared a moment together, and then later, like a few months later for my birthday, Reed started teasing that he had the best present for me ever. Like, this is like a whole thing. He kept calling me and being like, I got the best present, you're not going to be able to top my present. And so I was like, okay, it's Reed, so either it's the biggest troll in the world, or he's right. There's not going to be anywhere in between.
Yeah.
So on my birthday, he gives me a box, and I open it up, and it's my Calvin and Hobbes book. Like, my actual physical Calvin and Hobbes book that I left at my parents' house. It was the first one of his collections that he ever published. And it was also the first one I ever bought, coincidentally.
Yeah.
Like back in Dripping Springs Elementary School, back when I lived out in freaking nowhere, Texas, from the library. And so I open it up, and inside is, on the front page, friggin' signature to me from Bill Watterson. And you can tell it's from him, because it's in the exact same... Is it in focus?
No, I can make it in focus if you want.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna get this in focus here. It's in the exact same handwriting as the signature printed on the page. Try to get the sun off of it. There we go.
Oh, it's sensitive. Hang on. And it's delayed.
Look at that. So yeah, he won. I've not been able to top Reed yet on gift giving. Apparently, the Bill's brother had been going to visit him. I asked Reed if he wanted to bring anything to sign, so Reed came home, secretly stole my book, gave it to him, and he took it there and got it signed, which is really cool because again, there isn't a way to contact him. Like there isn't like a no, he doesn't go places. He doesn't do signings. He doesn't like. I've seen cartoonists like at. There was one at PAX even this last year. The one that does. I think the Pearls Before Swine guy was there, and he's. Yeah. Yeah. I actually liked those too. Those were pretty good. But yeah, Bill Watterson just doesn't make appearances, doesn't sign stuff, doesn't do anything. So that's probably the most valuable thing I own now.
Do it. Just tank today.
Oh crap! The music's so loud. I'm sorry,
gosh.
everybody.
Your mistakes are causing people to suffer.
My favorite comment is just foreground music. Is there an explanation behind the Apple thing?
It clearly worked. I've tricked people. No, there is no explanation. I made it up. I just completely had to make it up. Because it was like
make up
midnight.
An explanation. Why are you not allowed to have more than 30 apples?
No, but it's false.
I know.
Oh.
Invent a reason.
Arson.
Right now. Arson.
No, that's the wrong thing. What's in apple seeds? Arson is fire. What is it?
You're trying to say arsenic?
No, is it 8? Oh, it's 8. All right. Well, can't use that excuse. Yeah, people catch apples on fire regularly.
I'm gonna have my engineers design a combustible apple to burn your house down. Ian, hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Save the show.
No.
please expand the story.
Well, so from I'll do my end, and then John can tell me tell us what happened. Me and Ian were just called on Skype. Really early days of Skype. Skype was super glitchy and not owned by Microsoft, and we just couldn't hear him at all. It sounded like his microphone was broken. There was like weird, faint mumbling noises. So we just talked and waited for John to figure out his microphone problems, and then suddenly there's just this like high-pitched screeching noise just comes from absolutely nowhere. We can't figure out what's going on. We know John's doing it, but we don't know what the hell John could possibly be doing. And then after this goes on for about 4 minutes, John goes, hello? And we're like, what did you do? John, what did you do?
So I had my headset on with the mic on it, and I rolled over it by accident with my it was on my chair, my office chair, like rolled over it.
Oh yeah.
And I guess I pulled my head and it snapped. So my microphone was completely snapped.
Wow.
So instead of being typing, "Hey guys, I gotta go" or something, and I decided I'm gonna go grab my my stepdad's soldering iron, and I'm gonna melt this thing back together. And it ripped.
And that's what happened?
While it was plugged in.
Well, yeah,
I now know what a soldering iron against an audio cable sounds like. It sounds like the death cries of a race of androids being burned alive.
Okay, but did it work?
It worked.
It did. It did in fact work.
And I was like, what noise? Because it doesn't make a loud noise. So I was like, I didn't know what the hell you were talking about.
It would not have been quite as funny if it hadn't worked, but it did in fact work.
Amazing. I have messages in between messages, but from what bitter? I don't know. Stop.
Sorry.
I don't remember. Anyway, 0 out of 10 do not recommend.
Excuse me.
That doesn't happen on this one.
Maybe it just highlights it to us.
Are you done? We should start a story. First, I would like to validate myself in saying that I've seen lots of scary movies and also scary shows, and cats and dogs freak out when bad things are happening, right?
I'm very curious to know where this is going.
No, I know.
I don't know if I've heard this story.
No, you might have. You might not have, actually. It's probably one of my least favorite stories because I was a freaking idiot. Well, not really. I feel justified, but my family laughs at me, and that's reasonable. Anyway, so animals will freak out when something bad is happening. Anyway, so I'm 12. And I've always been an anxious person, turns out. I didn't know that, but I have been. And at 12 is much too old. But so I was left alone for one of the rare occasions that I'm ever left alone at night while my whole family went out and did something. I think Thomas was with friends and mom and dad were going out. But so I had the whole house, which was this big 2-story house, my dad's house. And it was late. I was watching something and everything was fine. Except for I had this very, easy-natured cat that I'd had my whole life, Ranger, who was just fat and slept. He did nothing else ever. This cat never did anything. He just laid around. Anyway, so my whole family's gone and it's late. And then I hear just these strained meows constantly throughout the house. It would just be he would just throughout the whole house, just randomly.
Yeah.
And I would go and I'd look for him and he'd be on edge looking at something. It was freaky, staring at a spot on the wall. And then I would be oh, it's nothing, it's just my cat. And he would leave and he would go do it somewhere else. And he just kept making these horrible noises that he's never made before. So I got real freaked out. And I was something's happening. So I went to all the windows and I went to all the doors and I looked through them and I locked everything. And then I sat in my house and all the lights were off. And I was too afraid to turn on any of the lights because I thought someone was in the house.
Yeah.
And that's why he was freaking out. Or something was in the house. Something was going on because my cat was acting like there's something in the house. So I'm panicking. I won't turn on any of the lights. I'm just sitting in a dark house at the bottom of the staircase with my cat who just looks at things and meows randomly, which he's never done before. So I call the police. Well, my parents are out. Well,
what did you tell
first
them?
I called my mom. She didn't answer. Bad idea. That's all her fault. The rest of the story is her fault. Anyway, I call the police.
I thought there was gonna be more build up.
Nope. Nope. That's it. I call the police. The police are like, hello. That's how they answer the phone. And I was like, hi, my cat's freaking out. And they were like, is there something wrong with your cat? And I was like, there's something wrong with my cat. And they were like, is your cat sick? And I'm like, no. They were like, what's going on with your cat? I'm like, my cat is freaking out. And they were like,
That's what he said.
okay, is there something happening? I'm like, no, I'm alone and my cat is upset. And they were like, okay, well, go ahead and just stay on the line. I can send somebody over. And I'm like, please, my cat is so freaking out and I'm scared there's someone in the house or something. And they were like, so what is your cat doing? And I'm like, they're meowing. And she's like, okay, so your cat's meowing. I'm like, yes, but like in an upset fashion.
How old were you when this was happening?
12. I was a middle schooler. I was 2 years away from high school. Anyway, so they do send a police officer over. At the same time, my parents arrive as the police are getting there. And my parents like look at the police officer and are freaking out, and they walk in and they're like, oh my God, what's happening? And I think the police officer, like before they went inside, were like, your daughter called. The cat is meowing.
We actually passed by a car on the side of the road, like a police car, and I started talking out loud about how much it must suck being like if you were a cop car and you broke down, because no one would stop to help you.
Right.
Because no one would know.
Right.
So I make the mistake of sympathizing with the police car, and immediately afterwards the police car is behind us and pulls us over. And so there was a game going on or something, so it was like really heavy police surveillance because I think people commonly drink and drive around college games.
Yeah.
Which is why they pulled us over.
Yeah.
He didn't actually have a good reason. He said that we were going too fast and we were riding the left lane, which was supposed to only be for passing.
Right.
So we were both going too fast and also not going fast enough at the same time, according to him.
Yeah.
But it ended up turning into a whole thing because for some reason I didn't know. Afterwards, I talked to people about this, and the officer actually took us each into his car and asked us questions independently. And I asked other people about that afterwards, and people were like, "Yeah, they're not supposed to do that."
He took you into his car.
Yeah. And I was like, I didn't know that. I haven't been pulled over much. I hadn't been pulled over ever actually before that. But Ian, it's not his fault. He just gets really, really nervous during any kind of confrontation. And so he comes across
with police
as having done something wrong.
Well, yeah, because he's sweating and shaking and stuttering and not making eye contact.
And also, this one particular cop was a douche. I say that like a lot of them aren't. I'm sure like many are, but this was definitely one. This was like very classic Texas Highway Patrolman, cowboy hat, sunglasses, the full thing.
Yeah.
So he starts asking Ian questions about whether or not he has drugs in the car, and Ian doesn't want him to search the car because we just packed the entire contents of Ian's apartment into that car over the course of like 8 hours. So Ian's like, no. I don't give you permission to search my car, except he does it in a very professional Ian-like way, which just makes it more suspicious, because then it just sounds rehearsed, because everything Ian says is too intelligent and by the book, so the cop gets more suspicious. Won't let us leave, calls drug dogs, which leads to the funniest part of the story, which is the drug dogs in Waco were all busy at the time. And so he could not get one out because they were all occupied.
Makes sense.
Looking for drugs elsewhere. So he had to let us go. And as one final thing, Ian's car wouldn't start, so we had to have the cop jumpstart the car so that we could leave.
He probably figured out somewhere along the lines that you guys were just not criminal material.
When we were filming a very early video, Mr. Johnson, our Portal video, we filmed that before we filmed the guards themselves.
Yeah.
I didn't end up editing and releasing it until years later, but we filmed it really early. So we didn't know what we were doing. It had been a terrible day already. Lots of things had gone wrong. Props were breaking. People were getting sick. It was extremely hot. We got there. We were setting up. We were finally starting to film. And if you've seen the video, it's it's Cave Johnson from Portal. We had somebody playing Cave Johnson with a portal gun.
Such a good video.
Fighting mobsters using the portal gun.
Yeah.
It was like our first action video. I still think probably the best action scene that I've put together myself. And we were in the middle of shooting our first shot, and 2 police officers come around the corner with their guns drawn. My brother Reed is facing the opposite way, just randomly dry firing his extremely realistic airsoft pistol, hears them, and spins around with the gun out. And there was like a half-second difference. Like, there's an alternate universe where Reed is dead.
Yeah.
From this event.
Yeah.
If we had not been as white as we were, we definitely would have been dead.
I was going to say, let's all take a moment to understand why Reed was... I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to go... okay, no, I know.
He
was also like 10.
No. He was not 10.
I've seen the video. Reed looks like...
He was a teenager. He was in high school. He knew better. He was in high school?
Yeah. Reed looks like 10 in that video.
Reed grew up a lot in a few short years, yeah.
He's like 3 feet tall.
But yeah, so they tell us, like, put all the guns down, so we all, like, drop what we're doing, hold our hands up. They literally have to come, like, pat us down before they realize that we are not, in fact, there to rob the Cedar Park Business Park in full mob dress from the 1920s.
The business park? Don't you mean the art studio?
Yeah, it was behind the art studio.
Yeah, the art studio.
And, like, this little business park area.
Yeah, and in that business park was an art studio and a music studio.
And a nail salon, which I know because it was the only building open. And it turns out the police showed up because there was an old woman. I don't actually know if she was old. I just assumed she was old because she saw 1920s mobsters and perceived them as a threat. So I guess that's probably what happened.
People dress up to rob places, like when they put on like the bush masks or whatever to rob places. So
saw us riding around on a skateboard and setting up a camera with guns with giant orange tips on them, and thought, man, I better call the police. Some stuff's about to go down out here behind this art studio.
Better be safe than sorry, I guess.
And you could see the look on the police officer's face that when they came around the corner.
Yeah.
And you could tell like immediately they were like ready to go, but then like within a second they were like
they put it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
but they had to act like, you know, like, you guys got to be careful out here. Like, you got to be like, you don't want to accidentally because they were talking about like, you know, we've been trained for these situations, so we could tell we came around the corner and we could see that, you know, that you guys, like, your body language wasn't threatening, and also there was this whole giant camera right over here set up.
Right. Could you imagine though, like, being a police officer getting called to like what they think is an armed robbery or a shootout, and they show up and it's just like 10-year-olds in ill-fitting mob costumes just standing there.
By mob costumes, I mean like the kind of fedoras high schoolers wore,
right? And
like a button-up shirt open over another button-up shirt because we didn't actually have suits.
Yeah.
No, and by the end of it, the police officers were actually looking at Reed's gun, and they were like, this is like real and feels real. It's made out of metal. You couldn't tell this apart from my gun. And you think they'd be like, this is really unsafe. You should be more careful about this. But they were like,
that's so cool.
Check this out. Look how cool this is. They were like passing it between each other.
Yeah. Well, okay.
So they ended up being cool about it. They left and let us finish filming.
The cat cop was awesome. She was super nice to me. She was incredibly kind. She stayed on the phone with me. She told me about her family and her cats and how they've acted up before. She showed up to the house. Like, she was chill.
I mean, it's probably nice, right, to show up at a place and not have something be going horribly wrong.
Yeah.
That's probably pretty easy to get to be in a better mood when you show up and it's like, okay, they're filming a stupid video for school or whatever.
Definitely,
or
like,
this girl was scared because of her cat.
I hope I gave them all like a good day. Like, they're all just sitting around, like someone called and is like, hello police, my arm just got cut off, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's standard. And then someone calls and they're like, my cat is meowing.
The best part is that after that was done, Indy, the guy playing Cave Johnson, was like, so hey, you see that building over there in the distance, the one with with the big windows? And I was like, yeah. He's like, that is the Cedar Park police station.
What?
We are in direct view of them.
How did you do that?
McCree. He's telling us that the show is over.
I guess so.
I don't own any of this content. Subscribe to Doll Monster.
We have 73
Why do we have
viewers.
so many people watching? Go away.
Stop! Get out of here.